Hello, my name is Jeffrey Munoz, and today I will be giving an in-depth presentation on cell phone forensics. In the presentation, we'll review what cell phone forensics is, some tools used, who and how they use these tools, some legalities behind it, and finally, its impact in the field. We'll begin with what it is. Cell phone forensics is the gathering of data on a mobile device for investigative purposes. Most of this data is found on either removable and internal memory on the phone, for instance a SIM and memory card, is removable while files are internally in the phone and contain valuable data. As said on my mobile forensics page, typical information found includes text messages, locations, contacts, phone calls, emails, IP addresses, applications, interests, personal information, bank accounts, documents, notes, pictures and video, and web searches. All these items have potential to be incriminating in assisting criminal investigations. Law enforcement typically are people who use these techniques to gather data. Cell phones now having landed a spot in everyone's pocket, it is crucial for law enforcement to be able to analyze and use incriminating information. Moving on to tools. The tools used differ depending on what the investigator is seeking. If the data is internally on the phone files, they use forensic software like GSM XRY, Oxygen PM, BitPin, or SecureView. These softwares are specific for internal files and examine data on these platforms. To examine SIM cards or memory cards, software like Tulp2G, Celldeck, Sims2, and Forensic Card Reader are used. Forensic software tools acquire data in a device in two different ways, either physical acquisition or logical acquisition. Physical is a function of a bit-by-bit copy of an entire physical store like RAM on the cell phone or a disk drive. Logical acquisition is a bit-by-bit copy of logical storage objects like files on the phone itself that reside in a logical store. The difference lies in between the memory as seen by a process through the operating system like Android, iOS, and Windows versus memory as seen by the processor and hardware components. This is why there are different softwares for specific storages. The pictures to the right are basic toolkits for obtaining evidence in cell phones. You can see an investigator here has multiple devices open, and this is the typical cell phone connected to the software that is being used to obtain the evidence. Continuing on tools, softwares, as said before, create bit-by-bit replications of the discovered data. And to prove authenticity, they use either an MD5 or a SHA-1 checksum. MD5 and SHA-1 are both complex mathematical algorithms that represent all bits on the storage device in a single string called a digital signature. MD5 is a 128-bit hash value, while SHA-1 is a 160-bit hash value. The higher the amount of bits, the more unique of the signature, meaning in the mathematical world, the chances of one being identical has to be composed from the same data used to create the initial signature. In HPR 108, we had an assignment which required us to transfer data onto a flash drive. Before the acquisition, we created a digital signature. After the acquisition, we created another signature to determine if the information was an accurate representation, in which it was. This is very similar to what forensic software does. This is important in the legal world, which we'll talk about later, but it's basically what the software creates. And the image here to the right are bits, and this is most likely seen in a program like WinHex, but it's the bits discovered, which ultimately demonstrates what an MD5 or SHA-1 might look like. Moving on to legalities. In the legal world, it is very important for law enforcement to follow strict protocol. This is necessary for evidence discovered to be admissible in court. Probable cause is the degree of proof needed for warrants. It is made up of apparent facts that would lead a reasonable person to believe that the accused has committed a crime. A search warrant is a court order that allows law enforcement to seize evidence without the owner's consent that pertains to the current investigation. The search warrant is composed of an affidavit that establishes probable cause and details a strategic plan of seizing. These search warrants have to be approved by a judge, which he then searches for sufficient probable cause and clarity of the affidavit. The image to the right is a search warrant. Although you can't see the multiple pages, behind it would be an affidavit. And like I said before, the affidavit would approve a reasonable probable cause and a strategic seizing plan administered by law enforcement personnel. Elaborating on legalities. Law enforcement using digital evidence have to abide by the courts and follow the federal rules of evidence, specifically the best evidence rule. The best evidence rule states the piece of evidence presented in court has to be the original piece. Based on this concept, it can be difficult to achieve and a gift to defense attorneys due to the ease of untraceable manipulation of digital data. The courts have ruled that the original piece of digital evidence can be replicated but has to be proven with the digital signature. As I explained under tool slide, it is representative of all bits in the file, and it's either an MD5 or SHA-1 that is original. A chain of custody allows for courts and defense discovery to see every individual that has had contact with a specific piece of evidence. This is crucial for authenticity of the evidence and also a way of holding someone accountable for it if anything were to go wrong. The image to the right is a chain of custody form. As you can see, there's spots and lines where people that have handled that digital evidence write and date. Every time someone handles it, someone has to write and sign for it. Basically, a chain of custody, a chain of people signing. Moving on to the field impact. Digital forensics has allowed law enforcement an avenue to catch criminals in a world that revolves around digital crime. Cell phones, as quickly as they have advanced in power and accessibility, have become another tool for criminal behavior. Having the ability to forensically investigate data on cell phones and pull out incriminating files have assisted police in much prosecution. These forensic softwares function and play the role of police do, but in a digital form. The software has a capacity to provide leads and build strong cases against suspects. Most offenders are oblivious to the information stored on their mobile devices and let alone knowledgeable about what police can find. As a result, more often than not, police now do not overlook digital devices, now knowing it can be a weighted source of valuable evidence. Another idea we should keep in mind is not only does it assist in criminal investigations, it helps in cases like missing people, tracing cell phone locations, and is very realistic. And if that's not possible, it could potentially provide information that is valuable to the search. The images to the right are basically symbols of what policing has now innovated into. As you can see, a police officer is holding a cell phone. Right here, another police officer is looking into a cell phone, seeing what information he can cross. And here, a cell phone with a crime scene tape, basically signifying that cell phones are now a weighted piece of evidence. To conclude, now knowing what cell phone forensics is, which is the gathering of data on a mobile device for investigative purposes, how law enforcement uses different software to extract data, different softwares for specific storage mediums, how bits are represented, how law enforcement's actions are dictated by probable cause in the law, in-depth understanding of search warrants and the best evidence rule, and finally its influence not only for criminal purposes but for social justice. Cell phone forensics has marked policing as a whole and has created a strong level of confidence for police and another headache for criminals. As seen, law enforcement do not now have an in-depth understanding about digital data and are not afraid of using it in the name of true fundamental justice. Thank you.